In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, first things first. This has been eating at me all night and all this morning. So uh, I decided to do this video after Mass. But the first thing I want to start with is I should say really honestly, okay, and I'm going to try to do this without laughing because again, I have a very sarcastic and dark sense of humor. I find humor in the oddest things. But I really shouldn't have said that the Rock's head looked like a russet potato. Okay, that was not nice. It's funny, but it's not nice. So I don't. It's all in good fun, and there's a backstory to it. I had worked a very very long day at work, and this was when I was doing produce, and I was very tired, and I was rotating russet potatoes, and I picked one up, and it looked like him to me for some reason, and I started laughing. So, anyways, that kept me occupied for the next couple of hours that I had to to work, and so anyway, I can't say, and I thought about how I was going to do this, but I can't say I'm sorry to the Rock because that just sounds stupid. That a rock is an inanimate object, and so I can't say sorry rock or sorry to the Rock. So publicly I apologize to Dwayne for saying his head looked like a russet potato. And then as my brain would go, I contemplated this and then started thinking, well, what do I look like compared to Dwayne, who looks like a russet potato? And the only thing I could come up with is like a pretzel stick right next to Dwayne. So anyway, but a mighty pretzel stick, right? A pretzel stick with faith. So um, anyway, I can't say I apologize to Rock because that just doesn't work. So I apologize to Dwayne. I probably shouldn't have said it, but it's all in good fun. I think I mentioned this in the comments. I think that sometimes I subconsciously laugh at things or make silly of things. It's just my subconscious way of dealing with the truly dark reality that we're in, and the times we're living in, because it is a lot to carry. And there was a comment left this morning as I got out of Mass from a viewer about the first reading this morning, asking me if I ever felt that way. And you know, uh, it's exactly how I've felt for a very very long time. I kept a lot of this to myself for 17 years for the most part. I shared it with parts of members of my family early on. I was thought crazy, but in speaking with a priest early on, those were the words that I can't contain this. I have to speak. And the advice I was given was that from what I had told him and from the what was it was burning me inside, was to share it with whomever I wished. So I decided, when I moved here, you guys know the story. I moved here and I shared it with a priest, and he thought I was crazy. So I backed away for a while until the opportunity came to share my testimony in the book, The Warning, and I did that. And again, reluctantly, because out of fear, people will call you crazy. Either that or they expect you to walk around and be like a holy saint or something. And I'm anything but. I've said it a thousand times. I'm no different than anyone else. I struggle with things just like anyone else. If I get you know have a dinner gathering or something and I have a margarita, I might have a cigarette, and then the dark sense of humor, sarcastic sense of humor kind of gains a life of its own. If I smash my thumb with a hammer, then more than likely there's going to be a bad word that follows it. And but that was what I was trying to articulate in the last video, is that someone has to speak. And if we don't speak out against this, of what we see going on, I just posted something about a California school district in Monterey. This is where I'm from. This is where I grew up. Had to settle $100,000 lawsuit for encouraging a young girl to transgender or change her gender without the parents' consent. And so I want to read this real quick. A portion of the first reading, and so I tried to articulate it last night, but this articulates it perfect. for me anyway. And it doesn't matter the cost. I feel that if I don't speak, if I don't share certain things, I'm going to have to give an account to God. I'm going to have to stand before Jesus in judgment and have to answer for why I didn't. And I've stood in front of him once before. I know what that feels like. And I don't want to disappoint him. So there's nothing other than someone in authority telling me to shut up is the only way that I will shut up. And I would do that out of obedience. I would do that out of obedience to those in authority within the church, because I know whether it's right or wrong for me to shut up. If I'm not supposed to, Jesus wants me to speak, and the authority in the church tells me to shut up, Jesus would want me to be obedient. And so that would be the only thing that would shut me up. But it was in verse 9. It says, I say to myself, I will not mention him. Okay? I will speak in his name no more. And I've tried this. I've tried to say, you know what? I'm done. I've shared enough. It's over. I'm just going to go live my life. I can't. I can't. But then it becomes a fire burning in my heart, imprisoned in my bones. I grow weary holding it in. I cannot endure it. And so it's like a fire, like I said, like a flame that consumes you from the inside out. And it's a conviction that you know what you've been called to do. You know what you're supposed to do. And, I've said before that in hindsight, there's probably things that I could have done wiser. That would probably be a lack of spiritual direction that I had over a period of time. Some of the things I've shared, may have been better not shared. But I shared them for no other reason than to help people understand that heaven and hell are real. That what we do in this life and how we live has consequences, eternal consequences. And our actions cause spiritual reactions that reverberate in the spiritual life of others. And so I have to speak. And again, sometimes the sarcastic sense of humor comes out, and it's just who I am. I'm not going to change who I am, or my personality, or try to fit in with people with PhDs and I don't have a PhD. I'm not a theologian. Okay, I only know what God's given me. But I'm not going to change who I am. So, like I say, my sarcastic sense of humor, my dark sense of humor is just a part of who I am. And again, it's always been there. The reason I bring up Han Solo is it's kind of a joke, for me anyway. I use it, I use him as a scapegoat. I kind of blame him, because I didn't really have a father figure growing up. So I don't know. The guy was always funny to me. He's got so many one-liners that you can actually use in real life, and I've done that, and it's funny because they work, and people don't recognize it comes right out of Hollywood, right out of Star Wars. So anyway, it's kind of funny, for me anyway. So, anyways, with the apology to Mr. Dwayne for calling him a potato head, well, I still think he should donate money, or more money if they haven't. Him and Oprah have a lot of money. With that apology, and comparing myself to the pretzel stick, we'll call it even. My luck, I'll run into the guy someday, and he'll say, "I saw what you said." I'll be like, "What?" Anyway, probably not a good idea to make fun of guys that are bigger than you. Just saying. Okay. So I was going to talk a little bit about this prophecy of the Hermit of Loretto. And when I looked into this, I did a little bit of research. I didn't do a lot of digging. The more I dug, the more it seemed that there was, this person said, this person said, this person said, this person said. And so there was this long string. Okay. But basically what it was there was a priest by the name of, I hope I say his name right, Father Giacomo Capoverdi. Did a video a number of years back that went viral about this. And he goes through his story. I think you can still find it on YouTube. He said he once met this holy man living in Laredo, and he says that 17 years earlier, and I'm reading just some of the notes that I took here. 17 years earlier, a friend of his, an Italian American doctor named Claudio Caron, just had to get up to Loretto on his upcoming trip to Rome to speak with a holy man by the name of Tom Zimmer. Now, I believe this Tom Zimmer is the hermit. Okay, so it says this hermit, an American layperson, had left everything behind in the U.S. to live in Laredo as a kind of penitent or a hermit. He added he was very prayerful and had written a book called Pieta, which had sold upwards of 10 million copies. Now, when I saw this, I don't know if there's any other books called Pieta. Obviously, the Tom Zimmer guy is Catholic. He went to Loretto, but I don't know that he wrote this. I don't know that there is anyone that knows who wrote this. But this comes from the Divine Mercy publications. It's where I got this. Um, and it's a Pieta prayer book. I think you guys have seen this before. I think I've mentioned it before, but it's a powerful, powerful prayer book, and it has been approved um, for to be spread, and we have permission to read it and use it and all that kind of thing. But really, really, really powerful prayers in here, as well as a lot of prayers or a lot of promises to those who do it faithfully. I've done this. I've done this for a year, but it's a very, very powerful book. So, anyways, the thing goes on. It says Father Capoverdi wanted to get this message out after he saw Donald Trump's wife begin a spiritual rally in Florida by beginning with the Our Father. And so this was an amazing thing to me. I didn't know this, but I guess when President Trump ran the first time, it was one of the first rallies he held in Florida. His wife actually opened up the rally with the Our Father. And that's a far cry from the things that we have seen before. Now, I have heard, I believe from Father Ripperger, that either President Trump or Melania had the White House exorcised before they moved in, before they went in to move. And there was one room there that was made a chapel. It may have been Father Ripperger or Father Jim Blount, maybe. I think Father Jim Blount was the one that I heard say that. Whether or not that happened, I have no idea. I believe it was Father Jim that said it, so I have no reason to not believe it. The Holy House of Loretto was basically the house that Mary grew up in, and it was transported, some say miraculously, to Italy in the 13th century. Okay, and this is where the string goes along. So, from what I understand, this guy goes over there. He tries to meet with the hermit. He can't find the hermit, so he talks to the priest. The priest knows of the hermit, and then goes on, and then he meets a woman named Monica, okay, who said that she knew who he was, and it was that his name was Tom Zimmer, and that Tom Zimmer taught her many prayers, including a devotion to Saint Bridget, which I found kind of interesting because now what you have is a tie to Tom Zimmer writing the Pieta, but when you open the Pieta, this little booklet, there are devotions and everything that go along with that to Saint Bridget. Um, and it's just an amazing thing. I think I've read out of this actually on this channel before, but the thing was about the prophecy of Loretto, of the Hermit of Loretto, was that Donald Trump would lead America back to God. Now, this prophecy was supposedly given way back when Donald Trump was, basically a playboy and a millionaire playboy in New York. And so, I mean, it sounds crazy, but the fact that it was, given, well, I don't want to say fact, supposedly given way back then, and then President Trump gets elected, okay, and then the rest of the prophecy was that he would lead America back to God. Um, when you look at where we are right now and the political atmosphere we are in right now, We could very well be watching this play out. It's not, now, I'm not saying the prophecy is authentic. I don't know that it is authentic. I don't know that that the church even recognizes it. I don't know much about it. There's probably more people out there that could do a lot more research than I've done here. But when you look at this, you have a president who attended. He's the first president to attend the Walk for Life. He's the first president in a very, very long time to call us one nation under God, that that we are all created in the image of God. You have his wife, who opened up a rally with the Our Father. You have Father Jim Blount, I believe it was, that said that they had a Catholic priest go in and exorcise the White House, which I'm going to get into a little bit, I think, in the next video. There's a lot of things coming out about Barack Obama now that I kind of knew a long time ago, but I never spoke about. And now they seem to be coming out. Okay, but there's a lot of things that go along with it. There's a lot more coming out now. So I think in the next video I'm going to talk a little bit about this and how this feud between Obama and Trump really got going. I mean, if you go back, if you think back to where all this stuff kind of started, and follow it through to where we are now, it's very, very obvious that that Obama and his administration, as well as the current administration, is desperately trying to keep Trump from getting in the White House. They are desperately trying to cover things up, and I've made some notes on this, and I've done a little bit of research on it, but I want to talk a little bit more about that again, because if we don't speak up about these things, we're going to be overrun by them. And so the more people, this is what they use. They use a fear tactic, right? If we don't speak out, and most people don't out of fear, because if you get one guy that speaks out and then he gets arrested and goes to jail. But if you have 6 million people speak out, it's kind of hard to put the entire nation in jail. It really is. And people are waking up to this. Okay. So basically what the prophecy was of the Hermit of Loretto was that Donald Trump would be elected president. And again, I don't know. I want to make this clear. I do not know of the authenticity of this. Okay. It's just kind of a story and a video by a priest that went viral a number of years ago. And that's really kind of the way it came out. But that he would be elected president and that he would lead America back to God. It's an amazing thing, even that part of it, that he would lead America back to God. I mean, you think about back when the prophecy was given and where America was then compared to where America is now, combined with Our Lady of Medjugorje saying the West has made great strides, but it's done so without God. You look at the society that we live in now, it is a godless society. And, so to think way back then that Donald Trump would lead America back to God would be to also prophesy that America was going to fall away from God, which has happened. So, it's depending on how you read it. It seems to be accurate. But again, I'm in no position to say whether or not it's authentic or not. I don't even know that the church recognizes it. I just found it very interesting. There was supposedly a brick that was put in the Vatican wall, where they kind of closed the door and then they opened the doors. It was this prayer, this specific prayer of all the masses that were said I believe in Loretto, were said for Donald Trump. Now, if that's written and it's on a brick and it's in there, they open it and pull them out sooner or later. So if the brick is in there, it would seem to be an authentic prophecy, and time will tell, when they pull it out and they find the brick with Donald Trump's name on it. Okay. But that would seem to be the case to me. I don't know how religious Donald Trump is. I think he believes in God. He's not Catholic. His wife's Catholic. But I know he doesn't believe in and is not promoting or pushing transgenderism. He's not pushing wokeism. He's not putting men in women's bathrooms. He's not telling men that want to identify as women to compete in women's sports. He's not pushing, um, you know, this critical race theory in our schools. This is everything that the left is pushing. It is beyond me. I just need to say this. It is beyond me at this point how someone can call themselves Catholic and vote for a Democratic Party that voted God out of their platform and now are pushing everything that go against not only what the church teaches but the gospel itself. It's unfathomable to me that a Catholic who's living their faith or claim to be living their faith can stand behind this and support it. Okay. So again, there is no prophecy or portion of that prophecy that Donald Trump would serve a second term. No part of it at all. It just says that he would lead America back to God. Okay. It did say that he would become president. That's happened. It's over. Whether or not he serves again is anyone's guess. I personally, I think that these people will do whatever they possibly can to keep this man out of the White House. Whether any, and I would not put anything by them. I would not. It would not surprise me if there was another pandemic. It would not surprise me if there was a major terrorist attack in a major city in the United States. And they do this. They use it as excuses. Even whether they plot it or they plan it or not, or carry it out or not, even if it's just an act of terrorism random on its own, they will use it to their advantage. So what's it's a quote from Saul Alinsky. We've heard Barack Obama say it. We've heard a number of the other progressives say it, is to not let a crisis go to waste. Okay, so when there's a crisis, they actually use it to gain more power. And we saw this with the pandemic, with the lockdowns, with the forcing of vaccines, the closing of churches where Catholics couldn't receive the sacraments, and now, how many years later, we find out, well, the vaccine didn't work all that well. And actually those that got vaccinated continued to spread it and thought they couldn't. This is why in the major cities where they got, booster after booster after booster, that's where all the spikes happened. And so it's like I say, in hindsight, it's always 2020. Okay. But there's anyone that cannot see what's going on, it just has to be not paying attention to the political landscape in this country. There is a reason that they don't want Donald Trump in the White House. And, with that being said, I would say that there are a number of other candidates that are on the same wavelength as Donald Trump. They understand the corruption. They understand the crimes that have been committed. I'll tell you something else I noticed is that every time there's a new email that comes out or something else about the laptop from hell, more evidence about Biden being involved in oversee bribes and making money and being compromised, every single time that comes out, there's another indictment against Trump. It was when the laptop came out that all of a sudden it was real and it wasn't Russia disinformation, as the fake media would have us believe. It was the day after that they raided Mar-a-Lago. It's almost working like clockwork now. It's happened so many times. But there's a battle going on here behind the scenes, and I think on a level that we can't even imagine, between Donald Trump and Barack Obama. I don't think it's Joe Biden they're trying to protect. I think it is Obama they're trying to protect. Because there is no way that Hillary Clinton could have been involved in the things she was in. Biden could have been involved in the things that he was in under the Obama presidency without Barack Obama knowing. It's impossible. There's no way he could have not known. There's no way he could have not known that the Russian dossier wasn't paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign. There's no way that he couldn't have known that the laptop from hell wasn't Russia disinformation. This is election interference. Even what's happening now is election interference. And anybody that speaks out against it, anybody that brings hard evidence against them, they either end up one of two ways, okay, if not all three. Well, and the last one being in jail, but broke because they're taken to court or arrested on a false charge. And that's what they use. They've weaponized the justice system in order to punish people that want to speak truth. And so they're really shutting down free speech. We saw this with the censorship. They did the same thing. It would be an amazing thing if this prophecy were true. It would be an amazing thing if this prophecy were accurate and authentic, that Donald Trump would lead America back to God. I think this nation is going to have to go through some very hard times in order for the majority of its people to be humbled and to remember God. This nation has been blessed because of the Judeo-Christian foundation that it was built on. And as I've said, they call it the great experiment of history. Without ever realizing or how do I say, standing guard against enemies within that would want to use our laws against us. Claiming pornography is free speech and freedom of expression. You have to use rationality and common sense. And that's another video that I want to do, and I will be doing, I think, soon, is I really want to look into the emotional and psychological effects that pornography addiction has not only on men but on women, because it does psychological damage. So with the things that we have going on in this country, and almost the rituals now that are being played out, the impurity. I think we are a psychologically and emotionally damaged nation. And what's missing is God. And the only way God gets back, inserted back into society, again, is by men and women of faith, priests and bishops and pastors preaching the gospel. If we try to do this without God, this great experiment, the end of it is not good. Okay? And I do believe that is the reason that this messenger from heaven gave the message to pray the chaplet every day and to offer it in reparation for the sins committed by the United States. Our government has done a lot of things, that most aren't privy to. It doesn't make the nation evil, but it makes its people accountable, because we have a government that is supposed to be by and for the people, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Now, I don't believe capitalism is the answer to the world's problems. I believe it's the best thing going on. I don't believe it's the answer, because man is flawed. But the one thing that needs to happen in this country is accountability. People have got to be held accountable for breaking the law. And there's been some pretty big laws broken. And I think that's really the battle that we see happening in front of us right now with between Trump and, if you want to call it the Biden administration, you can call it that. I don't believe it is. I think it's Obama's third term. I think Obama is running this country, and Biden is just a front man. It's unfortunate, but we fell asleep. We fell asleep as a people, and we became more enamored with things and riches and comfort rather than remembering where those blessings came from. And so, we need to be reminded. We need to be humbled as a people. We need to get on our knees and beg God for mercy. Because as I said, I believe that the only two things that are standing in the way of a one world government, a new world order that is extremely socialist, if not Marxist communist, is the United States and the Catholic Church. May God bless you. May he keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. And may he grant you his peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.